Hello everybody, this is Granny. Today we're taking a road trip to Leavenworth, Washington. It'll be a long day, about 300 miles round trip. We're beginning and ending our trip from our home in Tacoma, Washington. It's a bright sunny day in early spring and not a rain cloud in sight. A perfect day for a drive. We're starting in Tacoma, going through Seattle, Bellevue, and we cut over to Monroe, go across Stevens Pass, which is part of the Cascade Loop, and then we're going to Leavenworth. It's right here. On the way back, we're going to go down to Blewett Pass through the town of Liberty and over to Cle Elum, onto I-90, follow that back up, and down 18 to Maple Valley, and then back down to Tacoma. Of course, like any other long drive, you're going to run into some road construction along the way. This particular project is going to make a welcome improvement in the travel along the I-5 corridor, though, so we're not too upset. Then at last we put the congestion behind us and are on our way along the beautiful scenic highways that make up part of the Cascade Loop. Most of the mountain passes are open today, but the northernmost one's still closed for the winter, so we'll have to wait to do the Cascade Loop in its entirety some other day. The entire loop is 440 miles of some of the most beautiful scenery that Washington State has to offer. There are several interesting and historic towns along the way, and I'll point out a few of them for you. This is the town of Salton. For many generations, Salton was a small logging community named by miners in honor of a native chief. In 1968, the town became a magnet for more than 20,000 music lovers during the Sky River Rock Festival, which took place at a farm near the town. The event featured such artists as Santana, Grateful Dead, Muddy Waters, and many others. Also on hand was a very young Richard Pryor. The next town I'd like to point out is the town of Skykomish. This town was named after two Native American tribes who lived in the area. It was the fueling and maintenance station for the Great Northern Railway, which later became part of the Burlington Northern Railroad. Waste disposal practices common in that era contaminated the soil and the groundwater, and finally, in 2006, the State Department of Ecology made an agreement with the railroad to clean up the mess. In the end, the railroad spent $100 million removing and replacing the historic buildings, removing the contaminated soil, and rebuilding a levee, and then restoring the town with modern conveniences while maintaining the historic character of the town. And now we're at Stevens Pass. The pass was named after the Great Northern Railway employee, John Frank Stevens. He was the first non-indigenous person to discover the pass while he was looking for a route across the mountains for the railroad. As it turned out, the route was passable in good weather, but proved disastrous when in February of 1910, 2 trains were stalled on the tracks because of heavy snow and avalanches. 6 days later, on March 1st, an avalanche pushed both trains 150 feet down into the Tye River Valley, burying the cars in snow and debris and killing 96 people. It was one of the worst train disasters in U.S. history. And here we are at the town of Leavenworth. In 1893, it was a northwest frontier town known as Icicle Flats. Also that year, it was platted by Captain Charles Leavenworth and was subsequently renamed Leavenworth. It was once a powerful timber center. The Lamb Davis sawmill was one of the largest in the country. But when the Great Northern Railway pulled out of Leavenworth because of snow, the sawmills began to fail. It nearly became a ghost town until the early 1960s, when the town leaders came up with a plan. They wanted to convert the town's main income to one based on tourism. Their plan worked incredibly well, and Leavenworth now hosts over 1 million visitors every year. After we leave Leavenworth, we head south towards Blewett Pass and the tiny town of Liberty. Along the way, we see these apple orchards. Did you know that Washington State harvests 10 to 12 billion apples every year? Each one harvested by hand, and they grow more apples than any state in the United States. Washington apples are known around the world as the finest apples in the world, and they're the largest agricultural product grown in Washington. We take a side trip to visit the tiny town of Liberty. 2 miles off the main highway is the old mining camp called Liberty. Liberty came into being after the discovery of gold on Swamp Creek in 1873, and is known as Washington's only living ghost town. The town is still home to a few hardy souls, and is a place you don't want to miss when passing today. Reluctantly, we made our way back to the highway and headed for our next destination of Cle Elum, Washington. At the end of the day, with the sun going down, we reached home in Tacoma. We had a wonderful day, and we hope you enjoyed coming along. Goodbye, everybody, and thanks for watching.